Okay, to piggyback off Guy's comments, we have our next presenters, Sam DeBord from RESO and Denee Evans from CMLS. To Guy's point and what the long-term goals are for CEPI, we thought it would be great for Sam and Denee to share some of their perspectives of their organizations and how we've been able to keep this going in the U.S. through their efforts. So without further ado, let me get your thing out. Are you going first? There's a handheld if you want.
Good morning, everybody. Much like yesterday, following Brad Inman, Guy is a tough act to follow. He's a wonderful speaker. It's an honor to be here with your organization with the scope that you have across the world. We're going to have some slides that need to be updated because there are more countries than we thought just a couple of days ago. So thank you. We're grateful to have this opportunity. Denee and I are going to talk about a couple of different things in our markets that we work on the technology side and on the MLS side. 24 countries, I don't know if we got that from the website, but the scope of this it's impressive. For RESO, you would have known us as a North American organization for a very long time. And yet, in the last couple of years, we'll talk about the growth of technology standards, like many other technology standards that you know that are global, universal languages for technology, that we all have different marketplaces. We all speak different languages in most cases. But these technology languages really cross continents, like this event. They cross countries, they cross associations, they cross businesses, and they cross marketplaces. So the two different topics, related but different topics that we're going to cover are the multiple listing service and data standards. And it's important to focus on them separately, but also together. The multiple listing service being a rules-based marketplace for businesses and consumers to transact. And data standards being a rules-based ecosystem for technology systems to interoperate. These things can and do exist on their own. We had MLSs for decades that didn't have any modern technology. They weren't digitized, and they worked. And there are data standards you see throughout the world that work very well without an MLS system, even within the real estate marketplace, where we have technology companies interoperate with their systems and their markets outside of an MLS framework. But when the two of them are put together, there's a multiplier effect. When we see rules-based MLS systems, organizations, and standards-based technology systems, we see a multiplication of the benefits for the businesses, for the consumers, and for the communities that they serve. And this has sort of been our theme for this event. We spent some time on this yesterday, but this rings true for lots of different business marketplaces, that transparency is what makes these marketplaces move in inventory. And the foundation of that transparency is a foundation of rules, like a stock market, where in most areas there are licenses, there are laws, there are regulations, not just about who can sell and what product they can sell, but about the information that has to be shared with consumers so they can trust the market, so they can trust the people who sell it, so they can trust that the inventory that's being sold to them is accurate, is timely. And that's the kind of information we get from multiple listing services. And the scale is pretty dramatic for our real estate markets. We're looking today at about 30 trillion euros, which are very similar in value to dollars right now in terms of total global annual transaction volume. And total global real estate value is estimated right now at about 600 trillion euros. That's a huge opportunity for our markets. It's a huge opportunity for our businesses, but it's also a huge responsibility because, as we said before, we don't sell video games and mobile apps. We build communities. Real estate is an important industry. We talked to some of the folks from CEPI earlier in the week who said in their marketplaces, real estate makes up 15, 20, maybe even 30% of the gross domestic product It's the same in the US. 1 out of every $5 in the entire economy is made up from the real estate industry. And when we think about those kind of values, we think about big cities, high-priced cities. Paris and New York we have on our list here. But not just Paris and New York. Many cities in China, in Germany, in Canada, they make up a lot of that transaction volume. We talked about New York yesterday. We talked about how those contribute high-priced markets to the global transaction volume. But in the MLS system, the small towns are just as important. The individuals are just as important. To be able to have any single business, any investor, any family, any individual person transact is what builds up to that volume that we see in these trillion-dollar numbers. And while we spent some time talking about New York and big cities yesterday, it's important to think about every market, no matter the price point, no matter the town. I just got back here from a family American Thanksgiving holiday in Olympia, Washington. Smaller city. My parents live there. It's where I grew up. It's about an hour outside of Seattle. On Thanksgiving weekend, it's about 4 hours outside of Seattle. But we go there every year, and we have traditions that would just remind us of childhood. My mom makes the same things for the Thanksgiving dinner, for the side dishes every year. And this is one. Now, this is cheese spread on celery. And I know I'm in France. I know I can probably get kicked out of this venue or the country for calling that cheese. I was going to blame it on the British. It technically says Old English spread, but we all know that's an American product just by looking at it. I can't get my kids to eat this. Do you know what the kids call celery today? Crunchy water with hair in it. But my spoiled kids are not the point. The point is this is something that takes us back to childhood every year. When I go back, I remember growing up with this. My parents didn't buy fancy food. They didn't buy nice clothes. They didn't buy nice cars. They saved every dollar that they made to buy their first home. My dad was a public school teacher. My mom stayed home raising 6 kids. And they saved every dollar to buy a home. Tiny, fairly run down, average street, and they fixed it up. And they got some equity, and they sold it, and they moved to the next home. And that's the first one I remember is their second home. And it had sagging floors and a tree growing into the roof. But they were good at this. They fixed it up. And they built equity, and they sold it. You've heard this story before. I can remember our third home being about 10 years old with my siblings up on the roof, pounding in shingles. And you'd think this is a sob story, but it's not. It was great. We loved it. As kids, we knew, I'm up there with my siblings on this roof. First of all, the freedom was pretty amazing. But we knew that we could improve our home. We knew we could get a better home, a bigger home. We could live a better life. Even as kids, we were starting to understand the system. And that's really what my parents relied on. One family, one individual who built up enough equity that at a certain point, they could build a home, they could pay it off on one teacher's salary, which clearly on its own probably wouldn't have done that, because they knew the system would work for them. Because the system had rules, laws, incentives that they could trust to invest every extra dollar they had into that process. And they needed that trust. My parents didn't have the money to pay a broker up front, but there was a system that allowed a broker to get paid to help them buy a home. They didn't know investors. They didn't know people with a lot of money who would pay them top dollar for their home. And they needed to get top dollar for their home to move to the next home, to move their way up. And there was a system with rules and policies that they trusted for brokers to show their home to anyone in the city, in the county, and get that exposure. That's really what we're talking about with MLS. We're going to talk about technology. We're going to talk about data standards, about products and analytics and features. But it's important we also talk about the foundation of rules, of these systems that make these marketplaces work. And that's why we're going to talk with CMLS, an organization that has studied the 100 years of MLS systems in North America, the good, the bad, the things that worked, the things that didn't, and they provide guides, resources, best practices to help us improve our marketplaces and hopefully to help you improve your marketplaces as well, so we can bring those benefits to our consumers and to our communities. So we're excited to have CMLS here and CEO Denee Evans. Please come up. Do you want the handheld or podium?
I promised Joe I wouldn't hit the wrong button and make the screen go away. Yay. Yay. All right. Bonjour. Oh, no, we don't want to go back to that stuff. All right. Well, good morning, and I am Denee Evans, the CEO of the Council of the Multiple Listing Services, and I am absolutely thrilled to be here with you today. It is my first time in Paris, and I did bring my mom with me, and I did have noted that I would say she's here watching, but I think I just ran her around the city so much for the last few days that she said, I'm staying in bed today. But she has thoroughly enjoyed your city, and we were so grateful to be here. And I have to just add, I was so grateful to be listening to yesterday's sessions and really understanding the dynamics and how the different markets work and your challenges. So I feel like I am learning just as much from all of you and how it works around the globe. So I appreciate that opportunity. I was leaning forward so many times in the sessions, like, really? That's how? So I will be going home with a full brain and lots to share with our board and our staff and our members. So I thank you for that. I wanted to tell you a little bit about myself. I am also from another famous city of lights, if you can see behind there. Not really sure why those two circles are still there. But you see, I have my own Eiffel Tower at home, but after seeing yours, it's not quite the same. But I am from Las Vegas, Nevada. I was born and raised there. And the people on the far side is my family. That was from Thanksgiving. And the red dot, people sometimes ask if I live on the Strip. And I don't. I live where that little red dot is, just a little ways away from it. So, and then I have my Frenchie and this guy. So that's my world back home. I have been the CEO of CMLS for, in 2 days, it will be 9 years. My first day was December 12th in 2014. So 9 years in, I can't believe how much has gone by. And I have seen this industry evolve and change, but really one thing that's been at the foundation of that is the MLS, really helping to create this efficient marketplace for buyers, sellers, and the professionals that serve them. So CMLS was founded in 1957 by MLSs who came together and looking to find solutions and talk about their challenges and what they could do to better serve their subscribers, their members, and that has just continued to evolve since that time, and we've developed so many more things. And one of the challenges I think that is talked about regularly within our organization is that MLS is not Major League Soccer. Multiple listing service. So we try a lot to talk about it as multiple listing services, but we do focus on anything and everything MLS. A little bit about our membership. So the way that it works in North America, so we have members in both Canada and the US. We have 231 MLS members, and that total coverage is 1.8 million subscribers. Putting that into perspective, there's 600 MLSs between US and Canada, and the total coverage of all of that is 2 million subscribers. So with that, our membership, while we don't have all of the MLSs, it does cover in subscribers and professional coverage. I did my math wrong when I did this slide. It's actually 89% if you use a calculator and not quick math. So I think that's a really important piece, is that the membership of CMLS, if deciding to do best practices and move the market and do things that better serve the professionals and the consumers, CMLS members have that impact. This one I just wanted to show you for context of the makeup of it. This is from T360's Real Estate Almanac, and this is specific to MLSs. And ignore the percentages on the one side, because I thought that I had put in the number in each of those, so I'm just going to read them to you for a second. So the mega MLSs, so an MLS that has more than 10,000 members is, there's 45 of them, but you can see they make up 68% of the market coverage. Large MLSs are 54, medium MLSs are 93, and then the small and micro make up 229 MLSs. So about 6% of the market is that bottom chunk. So yeah, but overall, CMLS membership covers 89% of the marketplace in North America. I also want to take just 1 second because I do have several CMLS leaderships who paved the way. Where did Mr. Sharon go? He was back there. David Sharon was a previous chair of CMLS. I have Mary Jo Cowan, that previous CMLS director. John D. Michelle, he gets it next year, well, 2025. And Emily, don't worry. Jeremy, we've got time to get you on the board at CMLS. But at CMLS, our mission is to set the standard for multiple listing. Our mission is to set the standard for multiple listing services, excellence, and support all those who seek it. And we do that with best practices and conferences and webinars so that they can continue that original goal of meeting to find those solutions and move the industry forward. And our vision is to continue to build a thriving multiple listing service industry that strengthens and enriches the efficiency, transparency, and competitive vibrancy of the North American real estate model. I am happy to just drop global in there, and we can take off North American. So we'll talk about that at the break. This is a picture from some of our recent events. If you notice, Mr. Rodney Gancho, you've got a starring role up there. Yeah, see, Rodney's up there. He was at our event. But we really work to educate and inform and advance the value of the multiple listing service as the foundation of an efficient marketplace. It benefits the professionals, agents, but also the consumers that they served. And that was a topic yesterday that I thought was brought up that I think is super important for us to consider. Our conference that we just had, so we put this on. It's grown. When I started, we had 500 people in 2014, and we just finished our conference in October with 921 attendees in New Orleans. And some of the topics we're covering is AI, governance of MLSs, data and compliance, the legal update, because if you guys haven't heard, there's a lot going on in our legal landscape in the US and MLSs. So we try to keep our members up to date on all of that and what is it that they can do. And I would love to invite any of you to attend our event in 2024, which happens to be in Sam's hometown of Seattle in September. So I would love to have you if anyone is interested in that. And then we also do, like I said, the webinars. We usually do Thursdays, CMLS Day, and we'll just put out a topic, and our members, I keep thinking it's going to go down, but we'll have 200. We just had one this Thursday, and we had 200 people on from our MLS members around the US and Canada talking about AI and how it's integrating into their MLS and what are the challenges and opportunities there. So we also support by working with NAR. Rodney, Alex, I haven't met you yet, but nice to meet you. At NAR, they do a lot of the policies, the set rules, and CMLS builds on top of that with the best practices and how to. So the rules, the NAR rules, are the basic, the standard operating procedures, as I call them, and then the best practices that CMLS has created. I think we have about 12 of them right now, ranging from legal, customer service. There's more, but my brain's customer service. Thanks, Rodney, for supporting me. But those are all online. You guys could go visit those and access those today if you wanted to read more information about how best practices of an MLS work. And also, too, I'm very excited to have talk to you about membership at CMLS as we'll look to grow that as well and have you part of that family and mentor. Like I said, from yesterday, just as much learning from you as I hope that we can share and connect to continue build this great concept. So I did a little infographic just to sort of show how this works in the US, but sellers and their agents put it into, I'll take the circle as the marketplace of an MLS. And really the what the MLS does in the middle is checking for they set the data standards using RESO, and then they have their rules and their policies to ensure that that data that is going in there is accurate, is timely, is complete, and that's through the compliance department. So that then the portals in our world are actually, they take feeds from the MLSs. So when they're getting it, it is the most current, timely, and accurate information available. Brokers, agents, portals will all use that, and so that's how we feed the market. So I like to just call that the little heart that makes that data work. So the heart of MLS really is the compliance. It is those rules, it's those data standards, it's those policies that keep the information accurate, timely, and complete. Confidence in the data. I heard a lot about this yesterday, and Brad had a great story for those of you who were able to hear it. But the MLS data is always current, and thanks to rules that require it to be entered promptly, typically within 24 hours. Someone yell out, because I haven't memorized the rules, so Rodney, you correct me if I'm off on that. But it does keep it timely and also accurate. The agents are the ones who input the information, but a really great system we have is if those agents input it wrong and another agent sees it, they will promptly call the MLS and get that information corrected. So it's this really great cycle of making sure they're staying on top of each other and self-policing, as we call it. With it being accurate because of the compliance that the MLS does, and it really, by all of these things, it creates this confidence that the information is complete. It is a complete marketplace, and that's where that stat comes back. If we have 89% of the marketplace, we really do have the listings in those areas. And MLSs create this confidence because of the data standards, the policies, the rules, and the best practices they impose, so that the consumers have all of the information to make the decisions on the most important purchase of their lives, some of the largest purchases of their lives. The MLS also, going the right way, creates connections, and this is this marketplace of bringing the widest. I think the slide yesterday was like the seller wants to be the widest availability and the widest market for buyers to come and see their home so that they can get the best price for that house. And the MLS is the very best way to do that in North America. The most available, the largest audience for buyers to see and find that perfect house. The community is bringing the buyers, sellers with their agents to make informed decisions about a property. And I think one of the other really important things of this community, and I think is a great value that the North American model brings, is adherence to fair housing laws. Making sure that everybody has access to all of the homes and that you don't need to know the right people in order to get to the right house that might be your perfect match. So it really does help us with implementing and applying fair housing laws and making sure that everyone has information available. And one of my favorite things we talk about in North America is that we're cooperating, but we're competing to make homeownership happen. And that is for the benefit of the consumers. MLS Market provides transparency and increases consumer confidence and really brings market liquidity and efficiencies. So in closing, MLS marketplaces create efficiency, further the goals of fair housing, provide a way to just ensure equal access to home ownership and have all of the information available to all the people. And that even means the agents, right? So the professionals have access to all the properties. They don't need to know the right people. It fuels innovation. As I said, that goes into the MLS, and the MLS feeds the entrepreneurs. We had several entrepreneurs up here yesterday. And when the MLS is feeding this, doing the compliance, it does allow for more innovation. And ultimately, the benefits to the consumer, that we touched on this some yesterday, giving them more information to make these decisions in collaboration with their partner, with their professional. And the MLS network effect, the more we have those listings in there, the more the benefit is to the consumers and the professionals. what are you going to list your house? What are the comparables? The MLS has that information. So thank you all for having me here. I really appreciate the opportunity, as I said, to learn from all of you. I think the closing, and to touch on what the opening speaker said, was our future is unknown, and but that's also our opportunity to create it. So we can create that future by being progressives, as Brad mentioned, and continue to make MLS a global marketplace. Thank you.
Thank you, Denee. It's a great organization. Do take a look at their website. They've got a lot of great resources available to any of you. I think it's important to point out, as we talk about both data standards and MLS, that the way you do this in your country may be different than the way we do it. You may find certain components that work perfectly in your organizations, in your marketplaces. You may find components of compensation, of the way you share, the way you do rules, will be different in your countries. But there are a lot of things to learn from, at least with the 100 years of experience of things that went well and things that didn't go so well. And those resources are available from CMLS. So it's a great resource for you. So talking about data standards, the MLS rules, technology standards, again, highly related, independent, yet very valuable, and a multiplication effect on the benefits for your market when both of those things are available. We at RESO have expanded to member companies in about, well, over 20 countries in just the past couple of years, because the technology effects are trusted, they're proven. The marketplace knows that they work, and we'll talk a little bit about the history and why that trust is expanding the group so quickly. But we'll talk about products quickly, because I know some of you have heard me talk too many times, and you don't need to hear me give a speech again, but some of you are probably newer to the RESO marketplace and kind of what we do for our organizations that are our members. So the data dictionary is the universal language for technology. It allows any technology system to talk to another technology system, no matter what language is spoken in your marketplace. These are just data fields that describe properties. And you can layer things on top of that. If you have different legal restrictions in your organization, in your country, you can change the way that looks for your consumers. If you have different languages in your country, you can layer those languages on top of this technology language. If you have just different nuances, you may use portions of the data dictionary for your market that we may use differently in another market. There's no requirement to change what you do locally that's unique and is different. It's actually something that accentuates the data dictionary. We really love having new companies and new marketplaces come in and expand the data dictionary. And what works in your marketplace is what you'll use from the data dictionary. The web API you may have heard of. This is just how we transport data. If you spent any time building technology in a real estate marketplace, you know that transporting data is generally chaos. Every company has their own custom way of forming the data, of getting the data, of requesting the data. It literally is chaos. Now, RESO is an organization that was created to put some efficiency in place, to create order out of chaos with you in your marketplaces, with your businesses. So this is a simple way for any data consumer, whether it's a broker, whether it's a broker's vendor, a technology company that is a consumer-facing app, to request data from a system in a common way, and for the data provider, an MLS or other organization, to respond. Highly technical, but in terms of business concept, very straightforward, very simple. Something you may not have heard of is something we actually just ratified as an organization just this last month, something we've been working on for years, which is a way for any technology organization in any real estate industry to map their data into a format that can be interchanged with any other data company. You don't have to be an MLS with a web API service to move this data around. Now, that is a very efficient way to move data with the web API. But this is a very simple, if you have a technology staff at your organization and you show them this standard, they'll tell you it's a very simple way to map your data in a way that creates certainty for your customers, for your business partners, for anyone you work with, that they'll be able to immediately understand the kind of data you're sending them, and you won't spend a lot of time and money and inefficiency mapping that data in between markets. And we'll talk about what that means for the actual information in your marketplace. So you're going to hear me use the word certainty pretty regularly, because that's the goal of standards, is that we take the question marks and the chaos out of the process, and you build technology that just works. You buy products and services that just work, that talk to each other. The experience you expect is that your technology systems will talk to each other. But I think you probably have the same experience we do, is in real estate, a lot of our technology systems have not talked to each other very well for a very long time. This is really the goal. We certify systems because standards are great ideas. Documentation is great. A standard specification, which is technically the standards product, is important. But we've also seen with 25 years of experience that just producing a standard doesn't necessarily get you the uptake in the marketplace. You need a system that people can trust to say, this is a RESO certified system. We can trust it will deliver data in the way we need it to be efficient for our technology tools. Our systems run 25,000 tests on the metadata of any system. And if metadata is a new term to you, it's fairly simple. It's just the menu. Your MLS, your data server, it's got a menu that says we have property data, we have photos, we have list prices, we have addresses, we have statuses. And that needs to comply with the standard if your technology systems are going to be able to work with each other. And we run those tests on up to 300,000 records when we certify systems, because the product needs to match the menu. That's how we have happy customers. When the product doesn't match the menu, we get that chaos in the marketplace, and it costs everyone unnecessarily, including your customers. We have certainty through implementation. You know these open standards. Open standards are what RESO does. Open standards are what Bluetooth and Wi-Fi are. A lot of people would look at this and they would say, that right side is pretty amazing. It's pretty remarkable. The growth of these standards. You don't even think about it, that you connect all of these systems from all these competitors. Samsung, Apple, Google, Microsoft. These companies don't like each other. They're trying to eat each other's lunch day to day. But they work together on open standards because they know that this is the rising tide that floats all boats, that everyone competes at a higher level when they use open standards. Now, again, that growth is pretty impressive. To me, the left side of those charts is more remarkable. 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. The companies that built these standards are the most powerful technology companies in the world. And it took them more than a decade, in a lot of cases, to get any uptake in that standard. That's what building a standard looks like. That's what the experience of building a standards organization looks like. It's not just creating a standard. It's getting adoption. It's selling to an industry. And a whole lot of work to get to the point where you can trust that the standard will have uptake in the market, that you can have the certainty that this will actually support your systems going forward. And so that's what we have at RESO, is the 25 years of learning through utilization. This is the proof. This is where the rubber meets the road. Do organizations use the standard in their products, and can you prove it? And can you certify it? And obviously a lot of our data, and you'll see most of our data today, is North American data, because those are most of the organizations that we certify. But through all of that time and all of those systems being certified and using the standard, like Bluetooth, like Wi-Fi, we know we can build technology on those standards that'll work. And that's the certainty through experience. That we've spent 25 years and many millions of dollars on a platform that certifies these systems, that's proven itself in the marketplace, the technology companies and businesses can trust as the foundation for their technology systems. So it's a business conversation. Everybody wants to know about cost. What does it cost you in your marketplace for your business to adopt RESO standards? It's zero. It doesn't cost anything. Thanks, Dan. It doesn't cost anything. We actually have a company here, Igloo, from the Czech Republic, who we didn't know who they were initially. And they called us up and said, we're building an MLS in the Czech Republic on the RESO data dictionary. They weren't members yet. It was a new introduction, but the specs are free. They're on our website. They're available to anyone to use. Now, they're a member now. They're here. They're a sponsor. They're very supportive. But these are free because we're a nonprofit organization, because we were incorporated for a benefit to the marketplace, to your marketplace, to any marketplace that wants efficiency in technology standards and technology processes. Now, are there things that can cost? Absolutely. Membership increases your ability to affect the standards, to expand the standards, to be a part of our events, our education, to get access to some analytics products that we're going to talk about later. But the hurdle is low, and the mountain we've already climbed is high. So this is the opportunity to get on board, which is why it's so great we're having this meeting with you right before the finish line. To not start where there's Bluetooth and Wi-Fi technology standards started 20 years prior, but to take something that works in the marketplace today. So we do have a number of products, analytics products for organizations to analyze their data sets and their partners' data sets. Alignment tools, if you're doing common integrations across different systems, across borders, data shares. We can help you with high-level reports that your management team can use to help them understand what kind of timelines you're going to have for these data partnerships, to use objective third-party data and information to plan for what those kinds of relationships and agreements might be like between your organizations. And of course, we can do the deep analysis as well, where you have data partners and you can say, this is the data we use in our market, this is the data in a partner market where we want to do referrals, we want to data share, we want to integrate, and see not just which data fields you have aligned, but also how much they're used, how important they are to that data set, and do planning in your technology development. This was a surprise to us when we started certifying systems and we went to the MLS software providers in North America. We told them what the performance of those systems look like. How fast are those servers? Because that matters. It matters to the apps and the websites and everything that access that data. And when we started showing them what they looked like compared to industry averages, we had those technology companies tune their systems up, some of them 10 times faster, sometimes 100 times faster, because they had objective third-party data to tell them that those systems needed that tuning. It's a direct benefit to your brokers, to your agents, to your consumers, that the technology just performs better because they have access to this transparent third-party data. We provide education. We have a course that a lot of companies use to onboard all of their new employees, to get them up to speed on the complexity of associations and MLSs and standards and policies and processes, to understand how those things work together. That'll be different in every marketplace. We provide guidance. We have guides and white papers from organizations that have already made the transition, that have moved their market to RESO standards, and we've taken their learnings from that process and put those together to make it easier for new organizations to get on board. We also have broad insights, not just an individual company's data set and individual fields there, but if you look at entire marketplaces, what are the trends across those marketplaces? This is just one example. All of the MLS software systems in North America, how many of them use a certain data field? How many of the 500 MLSs in the US use a certain data field? These are the things as your organizations are deciding, what do we need in our technology that you can use objective third-party data and not have to guess and use anecdotes when you're setting up your data sets. And this really all leads us to analytics. We've got the present and the past with transactions, but these analytics should be forward-looking for us, that we can take when we have a market-wide set of information. And of course, this is, again, highly focused on the US. You'll do this differently in your market. You'll visualize it differently. But when you have these data sets, you can understand your marketplace and how it compares to others better. And we'll just give you a few examples of what sometimes we use in the US from this kind of data to think about some of the things happening in our markets. Transaction activity, trending. Where are things on the move? Where are things slowing down? How do we make decisions as businesses, as governments, as communities, based on what's happening in the market from MLS data, the most timely, accurate trusted data in the marketplace. Legal rights. What kind of legal rights are attached to properties? How do we track that across marketplaces? Because this is really important if you're investing in property, if you're buying and selling property. Legal restrictions, the other side of that coin. What does that do to affect what we know about properties and how we work with those properties and transact with them? Emerging trends. Teams is one of the emerging trends in North America, very high producing clusters of agents within brokerage organizations. What do those trends look like? And also, are we tracking it correctly? Because sometimes a chart like this shows us that we're just not tracking our data well enough. And we need to know that on an objective basis for the industry. Unique locales, unique things to your market. This happens to be equestrian properties. Your unique things about your market will be different. But to be able to track that across your marketplace will allow you to express that to other markets. That what's important in your data set might be different than what's important in their data sets. But if we can track that in a transparent third-party fashion, we can express that in the same way and have that same sort of shared knowledge. We give our brokers a hard time every time we do one of these things. They love putting fax machine numbers in their listings, so I'm not sure how that's still there, but it's still popular. I don't know where it's going, I'm sorry. Accessibility features, things that are newer trends. How are we tracking how we're changing and expanding what's accessible for people who have those needs on properties? How do we look at these different niches and special interests that need to get that kind of information across different properties? Multimedia development, we know buyers no longer just demand a price and a photo. They want digital floor plans, they want 3D plans, they want drone video. Are we tracking that well? Are we accepting that into the MLS marketplace? And how can we use these kinds of data sets to tell our marketplace that maybe we need more focus on those sort of things? AI capabilities, the buzzword of every conference, AI. But are we capturing the right media? And are we tagging it and organizing it in a way that these AI systems can better describe properties to our customers? Because essentially that's what the value is better describing properties and information about those properties to our customers and to our businesses. The benefits are pretty clear. The innovation, the ability for your current technology companies to innovate faster, for new technology companies to come into the marketplace, bring us new features, new products with less cruft, less hurdles, less of the difficulty of having an opaque marketplace. The transparency of standards allows that innovation to come into your marketplace. Business and development planning for your communities and your organizations to have better data to make better decisions. And of course, cross-border markets. We're business people. We want to refer business. We want to have the right information to refer our clients to the right people and have that shared knowledge be part of that process. And of course, community benefits. It's more than just business. It's about our communities having these development insights for smart growth in our communities. It's about forecasting and financial planning, not just for our businesses, but for our governments who are supporting these communities. And then that transparent, trusted market information, which again is not just for government or for business, but so our consumers can trust that the information that's being shared with them is the kind of information they can rely on and trust to make decisions in their lives. Let's build these marketplaces together. We've got the opportunity. We're grateful for the opportunity to work with you to improve our marketplaces and yours, and I thank you for your time.